order. Roll call, is Marty online?
See.
Okay, then I'm going to seek Jason for Walter Tabor and Fred for Marnie. If Marnie does zoom in, you might come and see that Fred. Any addition or changes to the agenda, John?
Yeah, I would just, if we could just add, perhaps under commission open discussion, I would just like to have a quick conversation about the plan of conservation and development for next meeting.
Okay, great, thank you. The minutes of June 23rd, 2025, any corrections, changes from anybody? I'll make a motion that we accept them as presented.
I'll say it.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, abstentions? Abstention, I guess that just barely passed, so. Here we have a public hearing tonight. It's a special permit application of OSWA LLC for excavation and grading for section 63 of the Columbia zoning regulations at 0 Route 6. It's map 6, lot 25 in a CM1 zone. The lot area is 10 acres. We're opening the public hearing tonight. Just a little bit, see a lot of interest, obviously. So the procedure for a public hearing is we'll let the applicant speak first and staff also, our town planner, and open up for any questions from the commission. Then we'll open it up to public comments and questions, and you're allowed to ask questions of the applicant. But I would respectfully request that you direct those questions to me and let them address those questions as they see fit. When you are called, and I'll ask you to just raise your hand. Do we have a sign sheet for this?
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, I would ask that you've been signed in because we would like to keep a record, so we have an accurate record of who's spoken, your name and your address. And that everyone's welcome to speak. And if you could limit any comments that you make to this particular issue in specifically, so if there's a lot of comments, we don't want to have any more comment than, well, we want to hear what you have to say, but we're going to try and keep it efficient, so to speak. So that being said, we have this application for excavation and grading. And John, would you like to say anything, or should I open it up to the applicant?
Yeah, no, I mean, this is basically, this is not a traditional earth excavation. It's not a gravel operation. It's really a, moving earth around. It's more of a regrading exercise as far as I understand it. But the level of activity was more significant than a simple, preparation for a septic system, or more, it was, larger than 100 cubic yards is what we were talking about. And so it basically tripped the requirements of section 63, which is the excavation and grading section of the zoning regulations. So I think, the end goal here, the end game is not a gravel pit. This is ultimate site preparation, but we have to go through this intermediate step in order to get to that site preparation at some point. So I'll let the applicant take over from there.
Okay, I'd like to revisit it later on and review the regulation that this application is under, but we'll let the applicant speak to the application.
Yeah, my name is Jeff James, and I'm here representing Oswald. And as John had indicated, this is not a traditional development application at the moment. We are looking to develop property, but we want to make it more attractive for future development of finding some end users to use the property. So the objective is to do some relocation of some material. Some material has to go off-site. There's some stumps and some other things that are going to be leaving the site. And there's going to be some material that will have to come back to the site to get it to the grades that are proposed in the drawings that you have there. There's no end users currently in mind. But the intention is to make it attractive so that there will be some future development on this property as is zoned.
Okay.
think that's what John was alluding to, yeah.
Okay. So,
So it's not traditional that usually a developer would come forward with an ultimate end game, end plan. And there is no end plan other than to try to, in my mind, make it look more presentable for that purpose, because it's not a flat, evenly graded and sloped property.
okay. Any questions from the commission at this point?
Oh, yeah, so with the scope of the work that's being done now, why wasn't a permit required prior to starting?
I couldn't hear the question.
Oh, with the scope of the work that's already been done, why wasn't a permit required prior to that?
I was told that for land clearing there, that it's by right, we're allowed to clear the lot.
Who told you that?
I believe it was the zoning officer. We spoke about it earlier in the process. And as of right, you guys actually wrote a letter to me indicating such.
Hey,
Okay.
can I speak on that for a second? Can you hear me?
Okay, Savannah, go ahead.
So I had contacted the property owner when I saw the extent of the clearing to inform him that he would need to come forward with a permit application. So there was no conversation prior to the clearing began.
So that's not accurate. What he said, that he did check with you prior to the clearing beginning.
No, I didn't say prior. I said we had the conversation that it was a right to clear the property. We had the right to clear the property. And I don't know
With-
that that's,
Under
tree-
the
of
purview of
trees.
like a special permit application. So if you came forward for the permit, which is why you came forward and did the permit application. Sounds
So I
like there might have been some
misunderstood.
misunderstanding.
I didn't realize the permit was required to clear.
So.
So
you-
clearing of
I'm
tree, Mr. Chairman?
Yes,
I'm sorry, so I don't know if we're all using the same language. If the applicant mentioned clearing and clearing of trees, removal of trees on a property, particularly not in a wetland area, is an allowable thing. You do not need permission to cut down trees on your property, again, outside of a wetland area. But the extensive excavation work, grading work does, and you know, this office had no representations otherwise.
No, but that's why I came forward. When she indicated that was going above and beyond clearing, that's why I came forward.
Yeah, because we're talking about two different things, but this permit is for excavation and grading, not clearing of trees. Clearing of trees is essentially by right, so.
so you, pardon me?
Marnie is present, so.
Fred, I'm not on seat you and seat Marty. We have our regular member, Marty Kager is here. Hi, Marty. Did you have a question or we know that you're here?
Just the trees, yeah.
Okay. I'd like to sort this out because there seems to be a disconnect and I'm curious. So is it your contention that you contacted our zoning official about clearing the lands?
Not before. Not before.
Not before you started any
I
work.
needed anything to clear the land.
Okay, so you were under the understanding that you didn't need any
Permit,
permission to
correct.
clear the land.
Correct.
And so your intention at that point was to only clear the land.
And stomp the land, which is part of the clearing, yeah.
Okay, but as you started regrading the land, you heard from our zoning official?
Yeah.
Okay, and she informed you that the regrading and the extensive gravel
Was
operation?
not, was not part of a right to do it.
What,
We
we,
needed,
it was not tree clearing, it was something well beyond that.
well, I mean, again, I still think it was, but we stopped work at her request. Because we were stumping, to stump, you have to move earth, you have to dig and push stumps, there was a lot of big trees there.
So
we
it's
had
your
to-
contention that the only thing you were doing was removing trees and only the necessary regrading related to that?
Yeah.
Okay, and Savannah, was there a need for a zoning an inland wetlands permit for the scope of the work that was done? How close is it to a reviewable area?
Yeah, good question. So it's about 300 feet from Hop River. And it's approximately 120 feet from associated wetlands of Hop River. So that does put them out of the purview of the wetlands review
Oh.
for this portion of work. The site is basically two different projects. So the portion that he's coming forward about, which is the excavation and grading on the top half towards Route 6, is separate from what you see on the bottom half, which is being kind of graded out for a laydown area. They do need to get a delineation done, and they are going to have to apply with inland wetlands. But it's two separate applications there, if that makes
Okay.
sense.
All right. Okay, that's the extent of my questions at this point. Any other questions or comments from the committee?
I do have a question, so I'm confused, I'm a little confused, so this permit is just for the top, is. Savannah, can you answer this question, this permit is just for the top half of the property? That
Yeah.
actually, okay,
The property that borders Route 6?
Yes, yep. And then if you, in the bottom half that's already leveled out, that is
Yeah.
going to be a different applicant. So there's two, they'll be coming forward at a later date. But there will be two special permit applications, and the applicant on the bottom half is also going to need wetlands approval.
Okay, but that area has been regraded, so there's been activity in the review
Yep.
area.
Yes.
So. We have
So
two
I
different
spoke with
applications
they're in the
so-
process of they have an engineer who's delineating the wetlands with a soil scientist, and they're in the process of applying. When I contacted both parties, they stated that they were unaware that they needed any permits to proceed with work. But they've been compliant since they were aware that they needed permits and have been coming forward with everything I ask. So that's kind of where we're at now, is we're in the permitting process because they were not aware that they needed permits.
Okay, I do have another question. As I've driven by the site, and I haven't been on this site, I didn't get permission to go on, so I wouldn't even attempt to do that. There appeared to be some sort of, I don't know, understand the terms on grading, a machine for separating soils and things like that. So it appears to be that there's a gravel operation going on site. Not, has any gravel been removed from the site other than the tree stumps?
Gravel has not left yet. No, we did take some stumps and we did take some topsoil off.
So you say not yet, do you plan to take gravel off the site?
I was planning to relocate gravel.
That means take it off the site?
No,
So which is it? Relocate,
relocate, it's all the same site.
so you're gonna move soil around the site, but you don't have any plans to take gravel off site?
No,
Okay. And the machinery I looked at, it was a yellow, it looked like a conveyor of some sort. What kind of machine is that?
it makes sand for the neighbors that she's referring to for the other application need septic sand. So making some sand for the septic
I see,
of the existing material.
okay.
And they have an approval for a septic system.
I don't know. It's the same parcel of land, it's just, or is it a separate parcel of land?
It's the same parcel of land.
And we have one parcel with two different users on the same parcel,
Yes,
and
Yes.
this is an application for one part of the parcel, the part closest to Route
Route
6.
6.
And this
Yes.
is, the site is 10 acres,
Right.
and what's the area of disturbance and activity, without me going back to the map to look at
It's
it?
probably half of that.
Okay, approximately 5 acres, okay. All right, Tom?
Question, have you done this before?
I have not gone through a zoning process
No,
before.
no. Have you done a project like this before?
I've worked on projects like this as the contractor, yes.
And have you had to go to the town for permits prior
I
to?
haven't gone through the zoning process before, no.
Okay. Any other questions from the commission, at this point, Bob?
Yeah, a couple of questions. You said there's two parts to this project, the upper part along Route 6, and then the lower part is the second half of the project?
No, what Savannah's referring to is there's a building permit was issued for another user on a portion of the same piece of property. So there's actually a building that was issued and a septic system that was permit that was issued for development of a portion of this property.
No,
Is that-
that's not,
That going-
sorry.
Yeah.
I just- Can I make
Go
it
ahead.
clear? There hasn't been a permit issued for this property yet,
A building-
for this
a buil-
parcel that we're talking about.
building permit and a septic permit, I believe, have for Target.
I don't know if there's been a septic permit on this parcel, but I'm referring to the laydown area at the bottom half.
Right.
That's
The-
level with Hop River.
Would it be
I'm
useful to
correct.
show, would it be useful to show a map to show the difference between the two parcels?
I think so, yeah.
This one. This one drawing by Reynolds Engineering Services is a grading plan. It doesn't show an upper or lower half. There's no delineation between one part and the other. It's all one parcel. As a matter of fact, some of the grading goes off this parcel onto adjacent properties. Okay,
Anybody need?
so are those adjacent properties part of this project?
There's two projects that are in motion. There's the grading for 0 Route 6, which is this application right here. And there's an existing building that's currently being built on an adjacent property, on the same property and an adjacent property owned by the same company, Osborne. So there's another project in motion already.
On this piece of property,
Yes,
but it's not shown on this
it
drawing.
is on the drawing.
You're looking at that, and so.
This is the property line.
Can't see without the
I
glasses.
think that's the, the video on this one.
Mr. Chairman,
Yeah, oh.
if I might, can
This
you
is a
see
new
that, can you
element.
see the map on?
There's a building permit here in this.
Could I have quiet, please?
Sorry.
Please. I recognize our town planner, John.
Okay, can you, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Can you see the map on the screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so just to be clear what we're talking about, the owners, the owner of this property, OSWA LLC, owns two adjacent parcels off of Route 6. This westerly parcel, which abuts Roses Bridge Road, is the 10-acre parcel that's subject for tonight's discussion. That's this long, tall piece right here along Roses Bridge. The adjacent piece, also owned by the common owner, is the parcel that hosts the Dunkin' Donuts, as well as Target, this building back here that sells sewer pipe, and received a site plan approval to expand, I believe, a 5,000 or so square foot showroom to the rear. That was permitted, and I assume that's probably what the septic permit was for relatively recently. But there's a separate parcel, and you can see the driveway accessing from Roses Bridge Road up to the Target property here. The separate special permit that Savannah was referring to is the folks that run Target, the property on the easterly parcel here, are going to be doing some outdoor storage and a laydown area that extends slightly into the westerly property here, and also in closer proximity to the wetlands. So there is some more activity happening essentially between these two properties, but the entirety of what we are here tonight about is the grading, that the clearing and grading that was happening on this this westerly parcel immediately adjacent to Roses Bridge Road, under common ownership, but separate parcels.
Okay, so,
In my mind, the application should include all three parcels because there's regrading happening on the other two parcels as well as the subject parcel. So this application really should include all three properties.
John, was the reason that it was broken up because of the wetlands issue? Or Savannah?
No, well, there's two things. I mean, the first is, well, the activity that was the laydown area. So, okay. So, and I should also note that the Roses Bridge Road is a zoning boundary. To the west of Roses Bridge Road, these are residential properties and are residentially zoned. To the east of Roses Bridge Road, these parcels that we're talking about are commercially zoned. And our zoning regulations have a different permitting path for different activities that occur adjacent to other commercial parcels, and a separate track for commercial activities that take place adjacent to a residential zone. So the westerly of the two, the easterly of the two, the larger of the two, is not adjacent to residential properties. So a lot of activity, including the construction of the new building, was able to be accomplished on a site plan basis, or a staff level basis, because it was not immediately adjacent to residential property. This property, the subject property for this evening, is adjacent to residential property, and so there is a heightened amount of scrutiny happening. Again, and a special permit process. So the you know, the owner who is before us this evening, the owner of the parcels, was not you know, immediately in the loop about I think the location of the storage of some of the laydown area, which is the responsibility of the tenants here at Target. So he's representing, the owner is here representing his activities on the westerly parcel, and we are anticipating an application for the activities taking place essentially along the line and more or less on the western, the eastern property. So I don't know if that clears it up or not.
Any other questions from the commission? I'd like to open it up to public questions and comments. Okay, if you could raise your hand and wait till you're recognized, and then, did I have, yes, sir.
Hi, doing Jason St. Louis, 7 Roses Bridge Road. I'm the only house on Roses Bridge in Columbia. Couple things first, they keep talking about Target. It's a scrapyard, there's no, what's Target?
There's,
It's called,
we have another tenant.
it's called.
They shouldn't answer that.
Okay,
Should I be answering that?
well, I've been down there a few times and there's, I
Also,
know,
if you have a comment to make, I'll recognize you.
I know there's a foundation on there, I don't know, but I think other than that,
Yeah.
also, right now it's a mining operation. Morrison was pulling loads of gravel and sand out of there all winter, spring.
So they're trucking gravel out. Is what you're
Trucking,
saying?
Morrison was trucking something down there, and it wasn't stumps. It was either the truck stumps, so it was either stone or gravel.
Right there.
The millings in the wetlands. Those were done, this whole process as well,
Yeah, and all that.
I would ask no
And,
throwing comment
and
from the audience.
when I first came up to speak up here, it didn't seem like anybody from the town knew what was going on. I mentioned the millings. I think that might be the reason somebody went down there originally. All they've been doing is moving soil and excavating before the permit, so was it better to beg for forgiveness or? I mean, that's all they've been
I
doing.
think the first step would be for us to understand exactly what's transpired.
Okay, so they
That's a
have,
good first step.
they have the gravel machine there.
Mhm.
They're shipping stuff off the property. Other than that. I mean, if they can clear all those trees without a permit. This has gotta be one of the only towns I can do, you gotta notify somebody. My house, I can now see everybody coming off the expressway, Route 6. From the other side of I got all the lights from the businesses in my bay window. Nobody ever came to me and said this was gonna happen, nobody ever expressed anything to us. And it just happened all winter long, and nobody from the town seemed to care, and said they can do whatever they want with trees. They had excavators in there, they had mini excavators in there, large excavators, they had bulldozers, backhoes, they brought in the mining equipment. Or the sifting equipment, and
Well, for the record, we don't regulate removal of trees. We just don't in this town.
well, if it's that close to a residential area, I think you probably should think about it.
Well, it hasn't come up before, and I empathize, I'm not trying to minimize what you're saying. But just the fact is, we don't have a regulation that limits somebody's right to remove trees. In the lake watershed zones, there is a limitation on the activity just prior to development, and it is regulated. Short of that, we really don't have any regulations that address it. Never. All the years that I've been on planning and zoning, never encountered this kind of.
Oh, yeah, it's all residential in Columbia, and there's no, where else?
And that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is we haven't encountered this level of site clearing that impacted a residential zone.
Right,
So it's something, we're always looking for things that we might want to pay attention to for future regulation changes, but I don't think anybody could have foreseen this level of activity there.
well, they would have if they went and looked at it when we brought it up.
So you went to our
I did,
town,
all of us did, I think.
Yeah.
Henry did, we all did.
okay. I'd like to hear from each of you so we understand what the concerns are.
Well,
Yeah, thank you very much. Let's start Tiffany.
Just a quick comment.
Just for the
This house
record,
face-
yeah.
My name is Chip Garrett. And I lived in one of those houses for 17 years, but my quick comment is, his house faces the property in question. He looks right at it every day. It's right square in front of that property on Rose's Bridge Road.
Okay, thanks. Any other, yes, ma'am.
Tracy Henry, Pine Ridge Road. Couple of questions. Savannah was saying that there is a public hearing for the lower area where the millings were put down. Is there gonna be a public hearing for that? They pulled the special permit? Savannah?
They're applying for it, so they haven't submitted it yet, but I have been helping them through the process. They're going to go before wetlands first. Because typically the commission likes to see the wetlands approval first, and then they'll be coming forward for planning and zoning, yes.
Will there be a public hearing?
yes,
Because
Yes.
that is on the parcel that abuts the residential area.
Yes, so then it elevates it to a special permit, which requires public hearing, yes.
Okay, why is the owner not responsible for doing that instead of the tenant?
John, do you want to speak to that?
It's,
So the
we
target
just need,
is fine.
yeah, we need an application from somebody who can speak for the property. And so that's between the owner and the tenant on who handles that. It's, in this case, it is the tenant's activity that they are controlling and would therefore be better informed about what the type of activity is and what its impact might be. But that's essentially between the applicant, that's between the owner and the tenant. And as long as we are getting an applicant that can properly represent the activity, I don't think the town cares that much.
Typically, we would need a letter of authorization from the landlord or the owner to authorize the tenant to make a zoning application. Did we have that in this case?
Well, this application, again, what people are asking about is a future application that Savannah is assisting to get to the point. But this application before you this evening is coming directly from the owner, so there is no additional letter needed.
Okay.
Okay, let it go. Is there anything that was given to you that you can share with us as to what the topography is gonna look like after they do this excavating and grading?
Well, we have a map here that theoretically represents what the goal is. It's a grading plan.
And can we get a copy of
Yeah, you
that?
can go to the building department and get a paper copy, and it should be available in the packet online that you can download from our website.
Yep.
Yeah, so it's
Oh,
part of
there? Okay,
our
perfect.
packet for this evening. There
Okay.
should be a scan of this document.
Perfect. Now, I understand, and I was told on multiple occasions when I came up here and talked to Savannah. One time I talked to Savannah and John, and I said, have you, just as Jason said, have you been down to see the extent of what's going on there? No, we haven't. Okay, could you please make it a point to go down there and see, because it's significant. I understand, according to all of you, you can't stop somebody from taking trees down. However, especially Stacy and Jason, who are extremely impacted right there looking onto it. Okay, they took all the trees down, but now how about, can we request that they replace those trees along the border of Rose's Bridge with, say, the giant green arborvitaes that grow to, 60 feet tall? They don't grow fast at first, so I would want to see a significant height of the arborvitae, like an 8-foot initial, 10-foot initial, not a 2 or 3 foot. And not a single hedgerow, a double hedgerow of arborvitaes, because the noise that is coming from that those trees being removed from the traffic is horrendous. The lighting, I sit in my living room and the light from John Scrap Meadow and Target shines into my window.
I'm sorry, who said that, please? I'm going to ask no comments if you're not recognized, and if it happens again, I will ask you to leave. Now, please, one person talk at a time, and only one person, and we enforce that out of respect for that person talking.
So again, just like the double hedgerow of giant arborvitaes going from Route 6, and I realize there's a sight line issue, they can't be right up to Route 6. All the way down to where the entrance for the new Target is. And then beyond, so it, you know, Andrea doesn't have to be looking at this stuff as well. And also would like, I know they're doing this excavating and grading for future sale. And I know taking all those trees down will make it more attractive for a business to buy that property. So, you know, it's about the money. I get it. But I would like, and I think I speak for the majority of my neighbors, to see those go in now. Before any business starts whatever they're gonna start there. Because then now we're gonna have a public hearing and we're gonna be dealing with that in the future. But I'd like the tree line to be addressed now while they're excavating and grading.
Appreciate the suggestion.
Okay.
Yes. Any other questions or comments from the public? Yes, sir.
Or possibly a fence.
Your name, please.
Matthew Floyd, 2 Pine Ridge Road.
Okay.
My driveway and garage border Roses Bridge. Or possibly like that highway grade fencing. You know, those really tall 20-foot wood fencing. Have that along there. They can't afford,
So you're looking,
replacing the bushes or trees. Because that also blocks noise and, you know, will get rid of the eyesore. Thank you.
thank you. Yes, sir.
Hey, Bert, here, 6 Pine Ridge Road, Columbia. You know, I understand about clearing trees and everything else. The whole point of this also is the fact that, you know, you've done other work, you've also done other work for other contractors
Yes,
as an employee. But loads and loads of gravel were dumped off there months and months ago before any permits or any talk to the town was provided.
so you're.
And that's all been leveled. That's
When you say
near the Hot
dumped off-
River side.
When you say dumped off, could you explain in more detail what you mean by that?
Well, trucks delivered loads and loads of gravel piles and then their equipment spread it all out onto a pad.
Okay,
It's black gravel that's been put on the Hot River side.
so you,
Now, there's been no permit pulled for
are you
that.
talking about the millings that were brought in down here?
Yes, yes.
We have to be very careful to be technically accurate, so it's different
And-
between gravel and.
And then my other concern is now I'm being told, okay, I heard about the Target. Now there's supposedly gonna be maybe a possibly second end user. What is this gonna impact Roses Bridge Road with truck traffic for 2 businesses? Now, Target is a company that gets flatbeds of construction and sewer lines and pipe. Those come in on a flatbed. This is a residential Roses Bridge Road. It's not meant for flatbed traffic. The only traffic we ever got down that street for John's scrap yard was 24-foot flatbeds with a box on it to haul the scrap to a recover and recycle center. And I feel bad for my neighbors that are on the Roses Bridge side, because tell you what, I see a floodlight from the marina. It lights up the whole neighborhood. And then the road noise from the highway and Route 6, because now there's, all those woods are down, there's no buffer. So that's why my other neighbors are suggesting a soundproofing fence like they do on highways, where there's suburban houses, or trees, but these trees can't be a 3-foot that you or me would plant in our yard. These have to be minimum 8 to 10 foot trees. The road noise is ridiculous now. I never heard traffic unless I heard a loud truck or motorcycle go down Route 6 after they passed Dunkin' Donuts. And for people that have not been there, that are in this town planning and zoning, okay, tell you what, my neighborhood is like 6 minutes away by car. Go view it. And I know Tracy Henry, my neighbor across the street, she came down numerous times months ago to the town to ask what was going on. Don't know. They can clear trees. Okay, maybe someone should have went to see what the extent of the tree taking down, because tell you what, loads and loads of dirt was moved out of there to get to the stumps. I get that. I get stump removal. But it, like I said, I feel bad for my neighbors that see this on Roses, but it impacts everybody in the neighborhood with the road noise and the lights. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, Lauren Jorgensen, 8 Pine Ridge Road. Just to kind of elaborate on Dave's point, if there are 2 businesses going in that section, the Roses Bridge onto Route 6 is very dangerous already driving, so to add traffic into that mix, I'm very concerned about that hazard. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
And just to second that with what Lauren just said,
Just, no.
Dave,
I'll
Okay.
recognize that.
Right.
You can speak again.
Okay.
Is there anyone else? And if there isn't, yes, Tiffany. Tiffany Garrett.
Yeah, my name is Claude Garrett, Chip Garrett, many people know me. I live up in 106 Lake Road, Columbia. But in 1969, when my wife and I were married, we bought the house on 2 Pine Ridge Road, lived there for 17 years. And we had a nice wooded view to the south. Our house is right there on the corner of Roses Bridge and 2 Pine Ridge Road. And it was fantastic for 17 years. And I drove by there maybe 6-7 months ago, I almost had a heart attack. Originally, and one quick thing that's irrelevant, but originally that street had the name, well, the name of the street, when we moved there was Tucker Street. We didn't like that name, and we had it changed back to its Roses Bridge Road name with Senator Craig's help. It seems like, as has been pointed out before, that maybe a 10 or 20-foot wide strip right adjacent to Roses Bridge Road with trees like arborvitae or even maples or oaks that are gonna grow to a height. And make that a nice, when I was there, it was a nice rural, well-wooded subdivision. And I'd like to see it put back that way again. And I don't know if this commission has the right to fine or penalize, but if they do, I would like to see them spend some money to require that a 20-foot strip of forest land be back there. And then there's another question, I don't know, can they put a road leading onto Roses Bridge to that? Are they gonna be able to do that though, to handle all this heavy trucking and traffic that's gonna be coming off from that parcel? And the Target parcel, I'm on the Interwetlands Commission too for the town. And the Target parcel I thought was a separate parcel, and they already have an Interwetlands application before us. And I guess that's it, and I am certainly, my heart's with these people.
I appreciate it. I'm gonna direct a question to our town planner. The Target Enterprises bill that's, I assume it's in progress there. Was part of their plan to do access over Roses Bridge Road to their parcel, or are they coming in through Route 6?
I believe they have entrances on both roads, that the existing, well, they got, I think, a relatively new curb cut onto Route 6 several months back, but had been using the Roses Bridge access for years and years and years. There's no new curb cut being proposed for Roses Bridge Road.
They haven't needed for years and years. Target hasn't.
No, but the previous tenants of that parcel access the parcel, right, access that parcel across the driveway at Rose's Bridge.
Okay.
So it's not a new curb cut. And a second curb cut is not proposed as far as I'm aware.
Yeah, I have real concerns about huge amounts of truck traffic going over a road that wasn't designed for it. And I'd like us to look into that from a legal perspective.
Yeah, but right now, I mean, we're talking about future possible activity. Is that appropriate for us to take into consideration?
Well, we're talking about a site that's under development and whether or not it's appropriate to access that site from Rose's Bridge Road as opposed to from Route 6.
And I understand that concern, but would that question be better answered if that is what's proposed in the future? Because right now, there seems to be site preparation going on. And not an application for additional building or any other construction, right?
Good point, but it's something at some point I would like answers to. This, your hand went up next.
Well, just on that point, I
If
thought
you
we
could
just
say
said
your name for the record.
Jason, 7 Rosa Bridge Road, Columbia. On that point, I thought we just said there was a building going up for Target.
That's what I was talking about when I made my inquiry.
Right, but. you
But
said
it's
there-
going on up on land that isn't
Yeah, it's existing.
contiguous with Rose's Bridge Road.
Yeah, it's
but-
exactly contiguous.
Well, I don't believe the parcel that it's going on is contiguous. I believe that they're accessing it over this parcel, if I'm not mistaken. Is that correct, John?
Sorry, is it, yeah, well, so again, the building construction, the building for the showroom for Target Enterprises was previously permitted and they're working on that. The additional activity is more outdoor storage. So they're sort of doing things in two phases. The first phase has already been approved many months ago. And the second phase is something that we are awaiting a permit application for.
I guess my second question would be, was there a public hearing for that?
There was no public hearing because it was not contiguous with a residential zone. When you're adjacent to a residential zone,
It is.
then it's required
It's adjacent to residential
a
zone.
special permit. Otherwise, we've given broad authority to our professionals to review commercial in an effort to enhance the.
Can I just make
commercial
one
development.
more suggestion?
Let me just finish a second. In order to enhance the potential to increase commercial development in town.
In one spot. Where else?
You didn't say that.
Where
I
else
said,
you doing that?
I said. I tried to make a general statement about the reason that we have relatively recently opened up our regulations that allow for permitting by right where we don't perceive that it, because of the nature of it, it doesn't immediately impact the residential zone. So that's the most accurate answer I can give.
So my realtor said it's gonna impact me 60 to 80 grand. So that's an impact. That corner where this lot off the road, the bridge is access. Is the worst corner in Columbia. We've cut them down for 10 years now. They won't cut down the forsythia, it's a blind, I can't get out of my driveway as it is. If they're gonna have bigger trucks pulling into this driveway, everybody here in my neighborhood knows that this is a problem. They won't clear the forsythia, they won't cut the forsythia, it's right on the edge of the road. It's a huge corner. Town won't put a mirror up, town won't do anything. Now we're gonna have bigger trucks. Pulling into this driveway, that's. gonna be-
Well, that's not a given because.
Well, the driveway's not going away,
What, pardon me?
the driveway's not going away.
The ability to use it has not been approved at this point.
Thank you.
Okay, the next person up was, yes, you haven't spoken yet at this point.
Yeah, just
No,
elaborate.
excuse me, the one with the.
Go ahead. You overruled me.
I'm Mona Mark here at 6 Pine Ridge Road. And for anybody in this room that has not seen the disgusting lot, I have tons of pictures with the building, with how it looks. I walk that neighborhood every single day. They can witness that. It's disgusting. I used to see maybe 8 feet of chain link fence. That was it. I didn't hear the noise from Route 6. I could distinguish when I was crossing the road, whether the car was coming from Route 6 or down from our street now, I have no idea. Cause the noise is so loud, I can see the cars on Route 6 going by. I don't know if I'm safe to cross, to go to the other side of Rose's Bridge to walk. He was saying that he wants to make it attractive to bring a business. How are you gonna make it attractive for the neighborhood? And is the town willing to reassess us when all this is over, when our properties are worth $60,000 to $80,000 less? If we had a nice, quiet, private little neighborhood that is now destroyed. And these are what I look at every day when I leave my neighborhood. There's lights that are shining into our neighborhood, as we've said. It's just, it's changed.
Be able to leave those with our,
Sure.
for us if you could, and we
It's,
will incorporate them into our minutes.
It's changed on the landscape of the cute little tiny neighborhood that nobody ever knew of. And now I can see right into Jason's living room from Route 6.
I appreciate the comments.
Just
You-
elaborate. 600 Road, now that my wife's done talking.
Yeah, give me a moment.
I'm going back
Give me
to.
a moment.
Yep,
If there were other hands up.
okay,
I'll recognize you. We'll
Okay, no
get to
problem.
you.
Yeah.
Yes, you were going to say.
Okay, Jason, the Target property is located on the other 14-acre parcel. Okay, so it is not this parcel, and it's not abutting us, so that's why they could do what they did. It's not abutting residential area. I did talk to the gentleman at Target when this all started going, and I said, is your sole access gonna be off of Rose's Bridge Road? Or are you going in John Scrap Meadow? And he says, no, John Scrap Meadow is John Scrap Meadow. There's gonna be a barricade. Our entrance is solely off of Rose's Bridge Road. So that's what Target told me. So that traffic will be coming up and down the road.
Just so you know, if there's a proposal to utilize a parcel of land that's adjacent to a residentially zoned district, it has to go through a special permit like this, and we have to review it and we have to get permission. Otherwise, that permission doesn't exist for a change of use from the prior user.
So that would include them using that driveway that is coming across this parcel that abuts a residential neighborhood.
I don't know what they would propose. All I'm saying is we have no application.
Okay, well, I'm just telling you what I was told, that they said that
You
that
have
was
to go based on what's in front of us for an application.
their sole entrance, so.
John, am I misspeaking about the legality of that? Or Savannah?
No, that's you're representing the right procedure.
Yes, so there is a procedure to protect commercial activity that's immediately contiguous with a residential zone. And we have in the past acted in a way that we felt was the most appropriate way to help protect the interests of those residences. Also, this being a special permit application, we have relatively wide authority in the way we permit or not permit the application, including requiring buffers. So I've made notes of all the very constructive comments that I've received in testimony tonight, and none of those will go undiscussed from a commission standpoint.
Okay, Rick.
So what really helps us is if you have a concern and you also feel you have a solution and you can verbalize that, that's the way the process works, and we're wide open. Our ears are wide open to trying to make everybody happy.
No, I get it.
Okay.
But if that's the case, and I understand exactly what you were saying, why is Target under the impression that they are gonna use that as their sole ingress and egress, but haven't come to the town to discuss it?
Can't answer that question.
Well, shouldn't you be calling them and saying, why are you using that? You haven't even come?
I'm not
Not
sure
special.
what our zoning enforcement officer is aware of, and she does have her hand up, and I'm gonna ask her to speak to that.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I've been on the phone with, I assume it's the same person you spoke with at Target. We've been on the phone twice a week probably, and his engineers are actively working on his application. Unfortunately, these things do take some time, and we can't review what we don't know yet. So he's working on it actively.
The applicant, this gentleman here had his hand up first, don't apologize.
Dave Mercury, 6 Pine Ridge Road.
Yes,
Just to get back to Lauren's comment about the road conditions on Roses Bridge Road. That road, ever since the Army Corps of Engineers widened the bridge over Hot River. Before, cars would have to stop and let each other by accordingly. Well, now there's cars, I mean, this poor guy or these guys, Matt, if they ever have kids, I would not wanna be on that road. Cars are going 40, 50 mile an hour, you can hear them slam their brakes on, hitting the stop sign on Route 6. And now you're talking truck traffic. You mentioned at the very start of the meeting that there was gonna be 2 end users. Okay, we know one's Target. Who's the second business?
if you could direct your comments to us, please.
Who's the second business? He mentioned 2 end users. Okay, you have that traffic flow that's already on Roses Bridge Road with the cars doing over the speed limit. The resident trooper's been notified numerous times by numerous residents in the neighborhood that cars just go flying by there. And if, you know, you're talking John Scrapyard, yeah, was there truck activity for John Scrapyard? I've been in that neighborhood since 1985. There was truck traffic. But if you go to Casella's and you look at a tractor truck that has a 30-yard dumpster, that was the size of the vehicles that were rolling out of there, and it wasn't a daily occurrence. It was a few times a week when they had loads they were trying to bring to recycle centers. Well, like I said, you go to the Target Industries and tell you what, you look at the stuff, they get 20-foot pipe, 10-foot pipe in crates, that's gonna be on a flatbed. And if John Scrapyard entrance that's on Route 6 between the batting cage and Dunkin' Donuts, that's just gonna be for his business. So you already said, yeah, you guys will have to have a special permit for the driveway entrance. So that's it.
Yes,
Thank you.
the applicant.
I'd like to just, I'm Jeff James, I'd like to just get on record that driveway has been accessing Roses Bridge Road since the 60s, when my grandfather ran a business out of there. Columbia Precast. It was heavy truck traffic for many, many years, and it's been continuously used since the 60s. That road has not changed, that access has not changed on the Roses Bridge Road since the 60s.
Yes,
I beg to differ because I lived on that corner from 1970. And the bridge across the Hop River, the Rose Bridge across the Hop River, was a one-way bridge. So we didn't have as much traffic as somebody mentioned as we did. Well, I don't remember seeing a lot of trucks coming out of that.
It's the only way it's the only way to get it out of there.
Where, what company was this?
Columbia Precast.
They weren't doing a lot of work.
yeah, any comments, I'd appreciate coming to the commission. Yes, ma'am.
My name's Andrea Lee. I live right on the bridge, right over the bridge on the last house in Columbia there. I look diagonal right at their driveway, and they can say that there's no activity, but I can show you and pull up my cameras that there is frequent activity to this day of trucks back pulling in and out of there, large trucks. They'll pull over, they park on the opposite side of my property along before they get to the bridge, because their truck is too large to come over the bridge, but there has been trucks that look like they're oversized to be traveling over there. Like he has said, there was the work started winter, you heard it from morning until night, every day, then none of us were aware. As the landowner or whatever, knowing that your commercial property is a residential neighborhood, you'd think that you would, hey, let's alert the homeowners that we're gonna be changing up the entire scenery that you're looking at. To now they push dirt together into giant mounds that run along the fence of that's the old chain link there. Now, I know my property has wetlands in my backyard, so the property that's right alongside me on the other side, which would be your property, would be definitely wetland zone. They did put that millings down. That was well afterwards, so. I mean, it's just human decency to just come out to people and say, hey, this is what we're we're tearing up, I get it, you can remove trees, it's your right as a property owner, but you don't live there every day. So that's what we get to look at every day, is just a giant dirt mound. It looks like it's gonna be like a dirt biking pit or something like that. And I get that they can grade it out, plant trees and everything like that, but, you know, it's definitely hard on people that our houses are right on that road, that's what we're looking at every day. That's what we're hearing from road or construction going on over there.
Okay.
Big trucks, like I said, I can pull it up and show you camera footage of these trucks, if he's not willing to admit that those trucks aren't in that.
No doubt there's trucks there.
One person at a time, sorry, Sarah. Please don't, only when you recognize them.
No, I was there, 2015 is when they did that bridge. Currently, I'm having drainage issues, I've never had them before, where the runoff from the road is already coming down into my property, the road on the edge is crumbling. So when these big trucks are pulling up and they're backing into River Valley Road so that they can pull over to the scrapyard to make that turn. They're definitely doing damage to our road there, and that's something that needs to be addressed.
Thank you. Is anyone else not yet spoken that wants to speak and we'll go back? Everyone's to be listened to. We have time for this.
Yeah, John Pat, 4 Pine Ridge Road. I grew up on that road. The cares for my neighbors, the Weatheralls, everybody. Yeah, the traffic is crazy now because of the 2-lane. The tree stripping, they just, went in there devastated, rearranging, the property, gravel here, there, trucks, yeah. There's increased noise pollution like you wouldn't believe, the wind, everything. It's a real mess. Growing up, that where they're proposed, that flooded every spring. How is that not? I didn't know how you could build by the river there. I mean, it's lowlands, it's flood zone. I don't know, I think we kind of got blindsided. I don't think we got notified that it was going from residential to commercial. And then all this stuff, we find out with trees coming down, boom, 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 crews just tearing the place apart. I don't know, and you guys seem baffled, like, I can't believe that happened, oh, no, they're doing it, how can no one know? There should be oversight, someone should be checking.
You've asked a lot of questions.
Yeah.
And they were good questions. But the first thing is, that's been zoned commercial for a very, very long time. So it didn't just change.
Oh, I know, 19, but
In the very recent
look,
history.
I never received a notification. When my neighbor, Andrew, across Route 6 was doing an addition, got
For
notified.
the process,
Yeah.
if we were to rezone something, and I'm not saying that was rezoned anywhere near the recent memory, is not to send individual notice to each person, but we do hold public hearings on potential zoning boundary changes. And so that's what that process is. As far as the other parts of this, we have concerns, we're gonna address all of them. Yes, yes, sir, back there.
So Jason, St. Louis, 7 Rose Bridge Road. I believe, according to my neighbor, that was rezoned in 2019. So it wasn't that long ago, and I didn't receive the notice.
That's not how the process works, that you would get a notice
Okay.
that is being rezoned.
Maybe we should.
We do publish things, and I don't believe it was 2019.
It was.
But off the top of my head, I don't know. I can't answer that. Yes,
It was 2019. I did the research in the clerk's office because when this originally started happening, I looked at the field card and the field card was still indicating that it was residentially zoned. However, the zoning map was indicating that it was CM1. So I approached the assessor and I said, okay, your field card is reflecting residential, zoning is reflecting something different. Which trumps which?
zoning map.
Okay, and she says we'll be changing the field card. And it wasn't 2019 that the public hearing was held, because I researched the public hearings to change that from residential to CM1.
Okay,
Now, as far as the owner said, that has been in access since 1960s. When Art Weatherall lived in that house across the street, he went to battle because he did not like the John Scrap Metal traffic. And that entrance was closed for many, many, many years. So it has not been accessed continuously since 1960. It was closed for years.
thank you. Okay, yes, sir.
Yeah, just in the future, maybe when one area is zoned from commercial, I mean, from residential or commercial, it should be taken into account. The adjacent property and provide some kind of a buffer between the commercial property and the residential.
So for the record, we do have regulations when you develop commercial property that's adjacent to a residentially zoned property. We require a public hearing, which is what we're
Okay,
doing here. And the fact that there was a lot of development work done prior to the application, that's a separate issue. That is concerning also.
the gentleman mentioned precast concrete being done in the sixties, it was, but it wasn't very good business and it folded. And there wasn't that much traffic.
Okay, any other questions, comments from the public? Yes, ma'am.
No.
Monomark 6 Pine Ridge Road. Has anybody thought about, I don't know what business is going to go there, but there are a lot of accidents already just between the Dunkin' Donuts, the batting cages, our road getting out. I was 2 cars behind a close accident that happened, got side swipe coming out of our road, Roses Bridge. Has anybody thought about the impact to how dangerous that road is to put another business?
Can I allay that for a little, because we don't have an application in front of us for development of that property for commercial use. So right now, the question is the regrading application that's in front of us, and just that. Now, as far as any potential commercial access on Roses Bridge Road, we don't have a request to do that. So from my perspective, and if anyone has a different perspective, I would encourage it. And so we can't really do a hypothetical.
Will there be another meeting?
We don't know if there's going to be an application to access up over Roses Bridge Road. If there is, then it will be a special permit application and we will have a public hearing about it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Jason St. Louis, 7 Roses Bridge Road, is the target layout area, isn't that adjacent to our property?
That's on a parcel that isn't contiguous with Roses Bridge Road.
I thought the layout area was separate from the building.
Well, we don't have a zoning application for that. at
Right,
this point.
but we've already talked about a layout area, which is,
That's an inland wetlands application, I believe. Is that correct?
so an application.
No, an application is, from our perspective, is one that's made to planning and zoning for zoning approval. There's a separate inland wetlands commission that hears inland wetland applications. They're 2 separate branches of the government.
What targets are you planning on this? Like, they're,
I can't speak for them.
okay.
You know, we have a process. If we haven't seen an application, we haven't seen an application.
Well, you
That's-
see,
You know,
there also was an application to do all the removal of sand and gravel and that.
that's what's in front of us today as a special permit, and
Okay.
we're discussing it. Yes, sir.
All right, Matthew Wood, so you guys are stating that, they don't have an application yet to, put their layout or whatever. All the asphalt millings were already laid out right next to the wetlands, and correct me if I'm wrong, but doesn't asphalt have oils in it that could have leached into the river already?
That's a really good point to bring up with the Inland Wetlands Commission.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we have a
essentially-
separate commission. Mr.
Mhm.
Garrett is a member of that commission, and I would suggest that you address it with the Inland Wetlands Commission.
Okay,
As we don't have an inland wetlands application before us from the present applicant that we're talking about tonight. The
Okay.
target, we have an inland wetlands application.
So it would be inland wetlands and
Yeah,
mhm.
I hope that answers the question.
We'll see when they test the water.
Okay, could you get all the comments in?
Well,
Usually we don't go back.
Well, things keep coming up. I mean, so does an application give them forgiveness? Because it's already been done.
If we were to approve the application as it was submitted, in essence, yeah, that would give them forgiveness, but we haven't gotten to that.
No fines, no that.
I didn't say that. I just,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah, if I could just make a comment really quick, I know guys, it's pretty frustrating. I understand, Jason, like what you're saying. But when we talk about the different levels of permitting and the protections for everybody, we have to concentrate on what's in front of us. So right now, this is maybe an unusual situation where somebody did something they were supposed to get a permit for. And after the fact, now it's in front of us. There's a whole process from here on out in which this will work out and additional questions can be asked and conditions can be made, all of that stuff. So one of the things that I would just caution everybody is we can go into the hypothetical on what could happen in different situations, but it's really important that we focus on what's in front of us and then concentrate on that. And I don't mean to diminish anyone's concerns, but it can go in 100 different directions and can be unproductive. So just the general comment.
Last statement on Jason St. Louis, 7 Rosie's Road. I guess my frustration is that we went to the town for months. They could have went down there and saw what was going on. They could have seen the excavation. They could have seen the piling, the millings, everything, and it never happened.
Savannah, our zoning enforcement officer. Savannah, please.
Just in a short defense of my position, I did go down several times and observe the tree removal. And on my visits, I did not observe any trucking out of there until I did. And when I did, I immediately contacted the property owner, which is why they are here today.
Yeah, and I appreciate Savannah saying that because here's the thing, guys, too. Even in this situation, the applicant has a Fourth Amendment right. We can't just go on their property and snoop around, right? So Savannah did what she did and she just explained it. And sometimes I know the attention was brought by the tree clearing, but that in and of itself wouldn't have triggered a permit, right? So it's important that Savannah said that.
Do we have any other questions or comments from the public?
Well, just one more.
Sure.
Andrea Lee, as far as the grading, what are they planning on doing? Because if they plan on sloping it down, wouldn't that be cause the runoff to come down?
Here's a map, so it's a pretty broad.
The solid lines are proposed and the dotted lines are the existing.
Okay, this point, yes, Fred.
Can I ask questions for clarification?
Yeah, please.
Sure. So one thing to point out, Target is actually located on a separate parcel. So Target's business interest would be passing through. So anything that Target's doing, we actually can't be addressing right now, because we're here to only address this specific parcel. So anything that Target has for future use would be for a separate meeting, because we're only focusing on what's the green right now during this meeting.
And they have an interest now for the 6.
Correct, but there's no application or permit to use it, but for right now, we can only focus on what's the green. Target is an entirely separate parcel, so that's not part of tonight's meeting. But one question I have is, the gentleman over there, you did say that you saw Morrison removing gravel from the site,
Yeah, Jerry Morrison.
and you did see a lot of people nodding in agreement. At the beginning of the meeting, you did say the gravel was staying on site for future removal. So do you have a contractor that's removing gravel?
There was topsoils with roots in it, part of the stump removal process that had to go. Can't drive on roots,
But to your knowledge, no one is removing gravel from the site?
there's no gravel removed from the site.
Yes, so the gentleman in the back of the room.
I walk that
Your
every
name,
day.
sir, your name and address.
Oh, Bob Henry, 3 Pine Ridge Road. I walk that every day. I watched trucks going out of there. They were filling it with topsoil and stuff. It went through the machine before it went into the trucks. So there wasn't any rocks or anything, and it was nice and clean. If you go down there right now, look at the files. They're nice and clean, because that's what the machine does. Takes all the stuff out of it. And I saw a lot of trucks going out of there with topsoil and sand. So, you know, it's just. I guess I don't like to be lied to.
Yeah, just to the applicant. I saw what I thought to be a gravel and gravel removal operation. We have a lot of people that have testified that you've been removing material from there, not just stumps, but material. And that would be a gravel operation, which is a different level of review, and we have very rigid regulations. Given that that's clearly what the testimony here from the public has been, I'm gonna suggest, as we get to the end of this session, as we continue our public hearing and do more investigation, but I would hope that everything that you've said to us has been factual and accurate, to the extent that there's been any gravel that's been removed from the site actively, and that's what it appeared to me to be as I drove past it from Route 6. That would be a big concern, because we do have separate regulations that govern that commercial type of commercial operation. So, that being said, any other questions from the public? Yes, ma'am.
One more quick question. This map, is this of the existing topography or the to be topography?
Both, the dotted
The
lines,
dotted
the
lines.
dotted lines are the existing and the solid lines are proposed.
So it's documenting what's there and how it proposes to be after the regrading.
Contour lines.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Yes.
Mary Winters, 700 Ridge. I go down, I live right around the corner from there, I go down Rose's Bridge Road all the time. And that property is a disgrace, it's an eyesore. I hate going by there and seeing this pit with all the, the dirt pushed up against the sides, it's ugly. I don't, that's why I'm here tonight, to find out what the heck's going on up there,
Thank you.
Uh,
so.
Here, another hand. We're getting a little late, within about 5 minutes, I'm gonna wind it down tonight.
To Pine Ridge Road, I was just piggybacking saying, some people bought their houses looking to leave in 5 years, we're hitting 5 years with no warning. We have beautiful trees and now we have nothing and we're losing extreme property value and there's nothing comes of that. We're just screwed. It's kind of, I don't know. It's not right, doesn't feel right, doesn't seem just, but
We're listening,
okay.
we're listening. Yes, sir.
Kevin Williams for Cooper Hill Road. So I don't really have anything on top of what my neighbors are all saying. The only question I have is like, since work has already been done and it's sort of like asking for forgiveness, when they get the permit, how do we know that they're going to do what's in the permit and not extra stuff and ask for forgiveness?
That's what our building department does and our zoning enforcement agent does. Make sure that any approval is adhered to, if we give it.
Okay.
And because this is a special permit application, it's a different level of review and a different level of discretion on the part of the commission versus a site plan review, which is a near automatic approval. You have to conform with the rules. We have wide subjective discretion in granting an approval to try and make everything harmonious. So I'm gonna suggest that we continue this public hearing to our, let me ask a question to Mary Kay. Can we continue this for 30 days?
Yes.
So the time standpoint,
John, would you agree?
John?
Yeah, you have 35 days in which to hold and close the public hearing. So you have another month available to you.
So I would, not to our next meeting, but the meeting after, because our next meeting is plan of conservation and development progress meeting. Does that make sense to you, John, or would you
Yeah,
want to continue?
No, that would be fine. And I would note that we are still awaiting comments. This was sent over to the town of Coventry for their review because it's activity. It's a special permit within 500 feet of town line. So we're awaiting their comments as well if they have questions or comments. So it would be appropriate to keep that open. And I would recommend the applicant, and so we have the conceptual grading plan from Hellstrom, which was prepared back in June. It would be useful to have either the applicant or the applicant's representative explain perhaps the final grading and site preparation to the commission and to the public in a more narrative sense, so that people can get an idea of exactly what is happening currently and what the end product will look like. Largely because the Section 63 zoning regulations concerning earth excavation and grading do have some requirements for how the finished landscape ought to look. and some of that additional detail or explanation would be useful. I would note that again, this is what appears to be, and represented by the owner to be phase one of a two-stage thing, that this is site preparation for some future marketing and potential development of the property. Obviously, we don't know what that end user is going to be yet. And so at this point, just simple excavation and grading does not require anything in terms of final plantings of buffer hedges or anything like that. That's something that would come in a site development plan for a future commercial end user. So just
I disagree with that. I have some comments. I've already finished up.
Oh, okay. All right. So okay. But at any rate, I mean, yes, I think if you're thinking of broad special permit authority, yes. There's nothing in the section 63 about site closeout landscape plantings other than topsoil and lawn. But again, yeah, the commission does have broad discretion on this, but it's important to understand, as awkward as this development process is, the hope and the intent is for this excavation and clearing to be temporary in order for something better and permanent to go there. And so, we would hope that the applicant can kind of present a description of what that might be and the roadmap to get there.
So before we vote to continue the public hearing, I do want to express some concerns that I would implore the applicant to address in detail. There's been a suggestion that there should be a very substantial buffer along Roses Bridge Road to protect the impact on the residential neighborhood from the negative impact of this regrading. And something like a double row of very substantial arborvitaes, either 8, 10, or 12-foot arborvitaes offset, so that there's near immediate relief. I would hope that they would consider that. Almost certainly, I would suggest it as a potential approval of this plan if it does get approved at some point in the future. The assurance that there's no commercial traffic allowed on Roses Bridge Road until after we receive a zoning special permit request for that, and that we have a chance to review it. Concerned about the impact of the marina light, which is obviously not down facing, which it almost certainly was required to be when we approved the marine business site application. So I would ask Savannah that you review that and make sure that the light that's bleeding off of the property is not violating the approval of the site plan. The speed on Roses Bridge Road, I don't think there's a way for us to address it at this point in time, but there's also ample testimony that there's been illegal gravel operations that have been going on in this site, and that there's been materials removed from the site, probably in a volume that would trigger our gravel permit need. And I would like to, Savannah, if you could look into the amount of material that's likely been removed from the site. If I would encourage any neighbors that have observed something to come forward to our planning and zoning official with very specific testimony or observation so that we can investigate this. And if it hasn't occurred, great. And if you've observed something in a very factual way, then I would implore you to reach out to her and discuss it. She's gonna ask you to go on record as filing a zoning complaint about this. So that's, yes, sir.
We don't really have to do that. Essentially, you guys could just load slips of trucking companies, because that's what they require when they haul materials, freezers. There's logbooks of what they haul.
That isn't typically how our zoning process occurs. I didn't see a hand up. That's from. No, we don't have a hand up. Okay, so it's much more effective. Our zoning really works when we have concerned citizens expressing it to our zoning enforcement officer. It's really the most effective way.
Okay, so we'll set up canvas.
Well, we have room, let's have room, please.
Excuse me, just one person at a time, please. So that's how I would suggest that you proceed. We want to hear from the public. We want our regulations followed. That's all we want. We're not trying to be punitive on anybody, but we do have regulations, and if they're being adhered to, then, and it's not to everybody's delight, that's, we're not happy about it, but rules are rules. But if they're not being followed, we also want to know about that. Yes, ma'am.
Maybe we can just have.
Your name for the record.
Oh, Andrea Lee,
Yeah,
sorry.
we're recording this and we transcribe names, so we need everybody to identify themselves.
Yeah, no problem. Maybe the applicant could get a chance to speak and just tell us what he's got planned for, like, if this was his home, what would he wanna look at every day? As well as maybe he's willing to admit that the trucks are coming in and out,
You
seeing how.
can ask that, but really it's about what the zoning regulations are. And we can ask him specific questions about this application. He's expressed that there's no plan to develop the property at this point. It's just prepping it from a
Prepping
value
it for
standpoint.
future development.
For
which is
future
understandable.
development, and I will take him at his word on that. But you can pose that question if he wants to address it, he can, he doesn't have to, there's no
Yeah, you don't have to.
requirement.
There's no user
Yeah.
in place. There's no.
Yeah.
No, not.
Just one page, excuse me,
I'm sorry.
please, one person at a time, and if you could address your questions to the commission.
Oh, okay, I thought I could just ask. Okay. Well, sorry, I just wonder if he would just willingly speak on his own to tell us what
You
he
can
plans.
Place that as a question, and
Yeah.
and at this
So
point.
don't do that right now.
I think he already answered that question multiple times, that there is no development plan, this is a matter of prepping this property for potential future commercial development.
So until that point, he's just looking to keep it a dirt mound, and then the stumps just look like the stuff overgrown.
No, that's what we're here for.
Yeah.
To address them doing, grading, excavating to clean it up and make it, oh, I'm sorry, I shouldn't be talking, right?
No, you shouldn't.
I got
They pushed, he already did that, like push it up a little louder.
There's a reason why we're very rigid about that, so that when you have the floor, you have the floor.
Yeah.
And if you
No,
can't chime in, we want to hear what you have to say, and when there's multiple voices coming in, somebody's voice isn't heard.
yeah, well, I guess just like is the plan for right now until we approve, this gets approved or till future. Till we, like, cause those dirt mounds were pushed up, that was never like that, a hit.
If it gets approved.
So that's all I'm asking is
If
maybe
it
he can
gets
take it
approved.
upon himself to say, if it got approved, this is ultimately what I'm looking to do. You know.
That would
just
be,
out of
that would be another application.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Not to be the applicant.
So the application is for where I would like to leave it while I market the property. I have stopped working there. There is activity there is truck traffic there, but it's for Target's purposes. Savannah asked me to stop working there until we went through this process here to show how we were planning on leaving the property, and I don't know Rick's first name, now I do. Rick asked if I would, or maybe it was John, asked if I would explain what the ultimate goal was with this grading, because not everybody's familiar with grading, and the idea is to make a relatively level surface up on Route 6, so I guess I would call it a platform or a level surface up along Route 6 that slopes gently to the rear of the property towards the Hop River. And then it'll have a steeper embankment that you can see on these drawings when you guys grab them. And then behind that, a more gentle slope towards the existing road access to Rose's Bridge, so that the water goes across the property, our own property.
Okay.
Surface water, and not that there would be a lot, because it's all gravel there. So the water doesn't really sit at the surface, it absorbs into the ground. So the idea is two surfaces, one up around Route 6. And then one down lower at the level of where Target is, basically.
I do have another question of the applicant. So is there a plan to stabilize all of the open dirt there with plantings?
Once I'm able to get the grades that I would like, yes, the idea was to seed it temporarily until somebody came along.
One more quick question, do you
Yeah.
have anything for the?
Yeah, it's not how we're doing it.
Okay, I thought it was an applicant question.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm not getting it.
Address your question,
Okay.
recognized by the commission in order to talk. One person at a time is recognized.
So as far as drainage, Andrea Lee, sorry. As far as drainage, has there been anything, like any assessments as of now of what drainage? Like where the water is running off from the road?
To the extent that I'm aware, we have a site plan which delineates the pathway for water flow over the site. How, I'm gonna be digging into this a lot deeper. We are likely going to continue this public hearing so we can get answers to our questions. Everyone in pretty much in agreement on that. Okay.
I mean, in 2015, they have done the road there and when they did the bridge. And like I say, you can take a ride down there, you can see that the dirt, the soil is actually caving in from the amount of water runoff that's coming downhill into my property, into the corner drain. And the road is crumbling on the edge.
One thing I would encourage, if you have some very specific thoughts on this, send an email to our town planner or our zoning enforcement agent with your thoughts. Savannah, you had something?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I just wanted to say from an enforcement standpoint, this is the first time I've seen most of your faces. So if you could please just download some, like off the website, we have a complaint form that you can fill out or come in and fill one out. But if we're gonna take any sort of legal action on enforcement, if there is some sort of gravel mining operation going on, we have to have evidence on record. So if you have any photos, you want to fill out those complaint forms, bring them to me, talk to me. That would be super helpful. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll just make a quick comment on that, 'cause and I'm not passing judgment, right? This is just more of a response to what you said, as far as moving materials off site. We're talking kind of about an investigation, and, you know, I think we really need to lean on Savannah and John a lot for that, because it was like, well, there's an argument, are you pulling sand off, and is it going off site? And then he's saying, well, it was topsoil, and from Route 6, I can't look through my binoculars, which I don't have, which I haven't spied on anyone to make that determination. So it can be an investigation that quickly turns into a tribunal and kind of gets a little weird. So I really think we need to be careful with that language and how we approach that, because
I think we have been, Justin, you know, I heard conflicting testimony here. And I encourage the people that had the conflicting testimony, conflicting with the applicant, to file, to reach out to our zoning enforcement agent directly. I think that's very specifically what I did say. But I also observed machinery that I've never seen just for stumping property before. And so that's me as an individual, separate from any zoning function, but I saw what I saw.
I've got a couple things too.
Bob.
Before, the next, or at the next meeting, which I think is gonna be about months from now.
Yes.
I'd like to see a couple of things. One would be a complete site plan. This is only a partial site plan. Doesn't show the property boundaries to the north. I'd like to see the proximity of the Hawk River and the potential offset for wetlands. The other thing that I think would be good is to include or to think about, John, maybe this is you. There's grading up to 100 feet onto adjacent properties for this project. I know the adjacent properties are owned by the applicant, but those properties should, in my mind, be included in this application. Because the grading goes up to 100 feet onto their property, under that property. The other thing that I'd like to see is calculations from your site engineer as to whether this is a balanced site, or you're gonna be filling it, or you're gonna be offloading materials. If you're gonna be offloading materials, I'd like an estimation of how many truckloads of material will be offloaded, potential traffic. Same with onloading onto the site. If you're gonna bring materials onto the site to create what you're creating, then I'd love to know how many truckloads are gonna be coming on.
Can I piggyback on that?
Please.
Suppose, and this is obviously a slightly hypothetical, if this permit goes through, this is to the applicant, how long do you project it to take to do the first phase of this I know that's a little bit like you're throwing a dart in the dark.
You mean like to get to a developer?
To get to the place that it needs to be per the map, graded out, and how long do you think it would take after the permit approval process, if that's
5 or 6 months would be my guess.
okay? Cause the only reason I asked that is because there's quite a few notes in the erosion and sediment control stuff that stipulates, you know, planting of grass seed, and if that's done in 6 months time from August, that's the middle of the winter. There's gonna be a lot of runoff there, through the winter. That'd be my concern.
So if I'm,
Yes, Tom.
one, very hypothetical. You know, obviously if this approved, how thing gets approved, that's one thing. What happens if this does not get approved? How do you plan on restoring that land to something in the way it is now, the way it was before? I just want that answered, not tonight necessarily, but answered.
It's something to think about.
Yeah.
I always think about the same thing.
Okay.
Because, you know, it's unusual because you've done so much before you got here, then that's not, I'm not saying that's totally your fault, but, it's something to address.
For the applicant, you have a lot. Yes,
Just one quick question. You're gonna propose that this hearing be continued,
yes,
not to next month, but to the month
And
after.
then
No.
not to our next meeting, which is 2 weeks from tonight,
Oh,
but
2 weeks
to
from tonight.
2 meetings from tonight, which is 28 days.
4 weeks.
Oh, 2 weeks, okay, 2 weeks.
Yes,
Thank you.
so.
You have
Yes,
the date
sir.
of that meeting?
Pardon
Do you have the date of that meeting? It's
Yes, it'll be Monday, August 11th.
interesting.
So
I won't be required to renotice because I already know it's already.
It's a continuation of this public hearing. We're keeping the public hearing open. There's another reason for this, is we can't, if we were to close the public hearing, you take any more testimony. And we have a lot of questions and we've got a lot of comments that have been brought up and they're all valid. They're valid from the public, valid from the commission. I would take those into account and hopefully have answers at our next meeting. And I would encourage you to all come back for that. So I'm gonna make a motion that we continue this public hearing to August 11th, 2025 at 7 p.m. in the office building here.
That's like it.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed?
I'm not seeing it.
Oh, sorry, Fred.
Yeah.
Pardon? And you get mine, so.
Marnie did not. Marnie, are you raising your hand?
I raised my hand. Yes, I did.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. All right, so we've continued this to August 11th at 7 p.m. And I really appreciate all the comment and we'll go from there. Thank you.
Thank you.
Just for the public that's in here, Jason is a new member to the commission this evening. And we will go in our member to member thing and recognize him, but man.
Welcome, Jason.
Just asking questions.
What?
Our role, aren't we?
Good.
We can't do this, I know.
Oh, is that right?
6 months before it's gonna be done.
Oh, yeah.
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 We should feel like, so you
Yeah.
Okay, take care.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Shoot.
Okay.
And there was three.
Jason, did you bring all those people in?
No, that was, sorry, Jason, thank you so much.
Yeah, when we were walking in, I said, what are we walking in?
I had the same thought, you know, but just, people are gonna contact you and wanna discuss this. Can't discuss anything while there's an active public hearing,
Right.
just not even really discuss it with each other, so. Thank you.
Did you say we're not allowed to discuss it with each other?
Not even with each other, you know, we shouldn't be formulating an opinion outside of what we take in the public hearing.
Okay.
That's the state statute.
That does not preclude us from, I mean, if we're driving through town and we see it on our own, the way it is right now.
That's
That's nothing I can do about that.
And you talk to the council.
yes. But we're not supposed to formulate a perspective on the application until after the public hearing is closed. Unfinished business, we have continued the public hearing to August 11th. Audience of citizens.
Nick Ayers, 281 Route 66, I'm a
Hi,
member of the Conservation and Agriculture Commission. We had our most recent meeting last week. And we started discussing preliminary thoughts on POCD updates. And I want to double check that the outline is basically, you're going to review kind of chapter by chapter over the coming months. I think it's between August and December. And as you get to each chapter, the plan is to discuss with the relevant commissions and committees and boards and collect their input as well. Is that
Yes,
the
absolutely.
intention to call each one in for whatever chapter is appropriate?
That's what I believe we've discussed, John.
Yeah,
Yes.
and that's actually what I wanted to mention this evening. Is that I believe on the schedule, we'll be discussing conservation and natural resources at this next meeting in 2 weeks. We had initially intended, I think, to have a preliminary draft of that chapter, but I think it's probably important to not sort of lock down any of the specific goals or recommendations, particularly for natural resources and conservation yet. So yeah, what I was going to suggest is 2 weeks from now is to basically have an open conversation with the stakeholders, conservation and agriculture, the land trust, perhaps Friends of Mono Pond, and maybe some other groups that we want to make sure we invite to that discussion to have each of them sort of talk about their broad goals over the next 10 years. And we will be prepared. I'll have a draft chapter of some of the background stuff, some of the map-based stuff and, the discussion of topography and the landscape and that sort of thing, but would want to have the opportunity on the 28th to hear from each of those groups. And so, yeah, what I wanted to verify with this commission is, precisely who should be called to the table. And obviously conservation and agriculture is there. Ann Dunnick is there. She emailed me earlier that we want to make sure those groups are invited, but just to verify who else you would like to make sure comes to the meeting.
And that's along the lines of what I was going to suggest is going chapter by chapter. You might call in one or two commissions that might seem to be relevant, but we were reviewing the entirety of POCD and conservation and agriculture. We discussed it, and there were at least 5 chapters we felt we wanted to provide input on. And so I just wanted to make sure that rather than us coming in 5 different times for each chapter, or worse, being missed on some of the chapters, just give each commission, committee, and board an opportunity to come in, say, these are the chapters we would like to discuss, provide input on, and do that collectively all at once. Get all of that information from all of the commissions and committees and boards, and then proceed with the chapter by chapter review after that. So.
That makes sense. Yes, so I think just your perspective on what 5 chapters, for example, you think would you'd like to comment on when at our next meeting might be helpful. We'll get that on the record.
Right.
There may be multiple stakeholders involved in each of the chapters.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, I think a discussion chapter by chapter with all the stakeholders present is good because there's some synergy that can happen. If you're not here, even though you've expressed your concerns about that chapter and that, one meeting and 3 meetings later, we're talking about that chapter and you're not here, you may miss something or something may be missed
Right.
that is important to you. So I would sort of disagree with you and say that somebody should be here to represent your committee.
I think we can do both.
Commission.
Is
Yeah, that would
come
be
in
fine, that would be
to
fine.
speak, not necessarily on a
Having-
specific job.
There are a few members on the commission that have gone through this before. And I think that's one of the things that was missing last time is we didn't have people at certain meetings when they should have.
Should have been,
Yeah, because they thought they already did it at a previous meeting.
they were done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Remember that, Tom?
Yeah.
A couple
I
of
do remember
missed
that.
opportunities, and I think that's.
And then after it
You're
was
gonna
done, it
notice.
was like, oops, we missed that, you
Right,
know?
exactly.
And there are some commissions and committees that might just be overlooked for instance, executive farm, committee. Is sometimes considered as like a subcommittee of agriculture, subcommittee of open space or whatever, so they might. Not be specifically called in to talk about their thoughts just because it's covered by one of these other commissions or boards and. Just making sure that each one gets some sort of invitation or opportunity to come in. I don't know if you wanna say these are the days these specific boards and commissions are invited to come in and talk, or if you just wanna. Leave it open and let whichever ones wanna come in and talk, but just so we have.
One
heads
of
up, so we make
the
sure.
other things that was done, and I think the planner did this, was send out a sort of a questionnaire or an outline of what's going to be discussed at that meeting, so that each of the participants, each of the stakeholders would be prepared to have answers to those specific questions instead of coming in here blind. We need to maximize our efforts in the most efficient manner at the meeting. The meeting's only gonna be a couple of hours.
Oh, yeah.
So if the work can be done, majority of the work can be done in your commission time, then brought here, then we can all put it together, I think, a lot more efficiently.
I agree.
Yeah.
And you kind of touched on the other point I wanted to make, which is this is a process that only comes up every 10 years. And there can be a lot of turnover in commissions, committees, board, even this commission in the process of 10 years. And sometimes there are new members who don't remember how this was done 10 years ago. So I think it's important to remind each commission and also for planning and zoning to kind of take some notes as they're going along, so they have a document they can refer to 10 years from now and say, this is what we did 10 years ago, just a reminder of how things work, because right now, we have some members who've been involved in these processes many times over, but some boards and commissions may not be able to have members with that kind of longevity on them. They might not have even existed 10 years ago, and they won't necessarily have guidance on how this process has been done before, so just recommending that they kind of keep a little time capsule of what they're doing now, so 10 years from now, they're not starting completely from scratch.
It's in essence the way we proceeded. We know what we did 10 years ago in terms of research and discussions with the public, and 20 years ago is records of all that,
You were on that one too, weren't you?
30 years ago. But it's a process. It was, I believe, 20 years ago, we did a major redo of the plan of conservation and development, and it was so well refined that we've really been comfortable with just modifying it and analyzing, well, what's changed over time, what do we need to add to it on the basic template.
Yeah, we didn't change much last time.
No. So in terms of the
We
process.
still got in trouble. You think I'm
It's still for all few things.
well,
Yeah, it's just,
what was the big thing that got, character? And then they decided in the state, you cannot use the term character to describe a town.
That's not precisely true, but there was some adjustments around zoning, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not quite though, John, right?
so the process is getting the stakeholders to be aware, we need to hear what they. Read what part of the document applies to their organization and react to that. And that's really the way the process has unfolded over time. It's been very effective. As I've read I haven't read full plan of conservation developments of other towns. I've scanned a lot of them and we have a wonderful.
Yeah,
basis.
ours is one of the better ones,
Ours is
everybody most of the surrounding communities.
Okay, good.
I have
And Paula did a lot of work on it too.
I have a quick question. This is probably for John. I just was curious how long the survey will be open for the P O C D.
Another month or so. I mean, we don't have an arbitrary close date right now. The town manager's office just approved sending out a postcard to all properties in town, encouraging them to participate in the survey. We've had, a modest interest to this point, over 100, but not many more than that. So we are going to, beat the bushes by literally sending a piece of mail to every property in town. So let's let those get out there in the next couple of weeks and get some responses back. I assume, most of them will come in a burst of 3 or 4 days following the mailing of the postcard. But yeah, we'll give it a couple of months.
Okay, I was just curious what the plan was.
How many do you have so far, John?
I'm sorry?
100?
Yeah, a little more than 100. I haven't looked in the last day or two. But yeah, we're
Correct. It seems to me we had 54 responses last.
It's twice as many.
Is that recollection?
I thought it was 118, but.
You could be right, but.
well, let's see. If we
I
we let everyone guess a couple more times, I'll have the number for you in a couple seconds.
Do you have a prize?
The pool.
Yeah, sure. You get a free load of fill from Roses Bridge Road.
Get to retire.
Just as an aside, speaking of postcards, I did receive your postcard the other day. Wonderful postcard. Really good. Both of them. Really
I'm sorry.
good.
Did you already got a postcard?
That's the most important.
Yeah, thank you.
Really good.
That was you?
I mean, Susan Mitchell put the graphics together, but I
gotta tell you, it's pinned to my bulletin board. I say.
That's great. That's what we want. That's what we want.
Yeah.
We'll probably do another one. Sarah Kellerhouse, who lives in Columbia, she is really active in the Wilmington Farmers Market. She asked, if she's already thinking about doing one for the Wilmington Farmers Market, just to, let everyone refresh it in everyone's memory. So that's, it was good. I've got I've gotten a lot of positive response on that. So great.
Current Columbia responses is 166. So
You were closer.
I remember it was.
Two, you had a month and you got it.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
And so, yeah, if I might, just to put a bow on this one, what I think I'm going to do is I will send out, because this is going to be our first substantive chapter discussion. In other towns I've done, I think, as was suggested, basically a very simple questionnaire of the stakeholder groups that they can sort of jot their thoughts down, sort of, major victories over the last, major points of progress over the last 10 years, challenges or snags over the last 10 years, and then sort of goals. I can send those out tomorrow afternoon. I just want to verify that we're on the same page about which groups should be receiving these. So conservation and agriculture, Friends of Mono Pond, the land trust, and executive farm. Are there other groups?
Open space.
Open space.
Open space is separate from conservation?
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
Lake management.
LMAC, okay.
Yeah, you guys should be.
Let's see.
Please.
No, it's a factor.
Okay.
Did you guys come last time, 10 years ago? Did you come?
LMAC?
Did you? I can't remember that. No, but it's
I
that.
think it took a while to get their response. I finally had to light a fire.
Okay.
One of the things, John, that each of the commissions should do is review their mission statement. And it's an opportunity to maybe update the statement, because usually there's an introduction as to what that entity is and what their charge is. So
Part of the issue with that is the mission statements don't map to a particular commission, they map to the chapters, I believe. So there could be multiple commissions that want to have input on that mission statement. And then you might want to take it in two different directions.
Thank you.
Okay.
So we jumped around a little bit. We were in the audience of citizens, but we covered P O C D there. Anything under new business? No,
I don't have anything.
no regulation revisions. We're taking the summer off.
I don't know about taking summer off, but take a break.
Yeah. So Jason,
Yes.
trial by fire, our new alternate. And input on the first night, took me 2 years to open my mouth when I got on planning and zoning a long time ago. I'll give you an A plus.
Thank you. Yeah, I want to say, from our perspective, Jason's a smart guy, we're glad to have him, and, we're glad that we appointed him, so. I'm glad that he's here. Thank you.
You are welcome.
Thank you. I'm glad you got seated your first night on. You really did contribute. Thank you. So we covered P O C D stuff, nothing under communication reports, anything else from under audience of citizens? No executive session, and I'll make a motion, we adjourn.
Second.
Amen.
All those in favor? Okay. Thank you. Thank you, John.